Good morning. My name is Mark Jorgensen. This is Anza Borrego Explained. Today we're going to be talking about endangered species. We're at the mouth of Borrego Palm Canyon this morning. It's August 31st. It's going to be around 115 degrees today. And as you can see, the bighorn sheep are in the canyon bottom. And they spend a lot of time down here in Palm Canyon year-round, but especially during the summer. They're coming down to the first palm grove, and they come to the pupfish pond at the trailhead to Borrego Palm Canyon Nature Trail. This morning, it's about 9 o'clock, and there are already about 10 sheep here. We saw, I think, 4 or 5 ewes and half dozen rams, and they're quite used to people. We try not to acclimate them to human activity, and certainly don't want anybody getting too close or feeding them. But as you can see, they're quite used to folks in the campground. There are no dogs allowed out on the trail. There's no hunting, shooting, no mountain bikes allowed on the trail, so there's nothing really but predictable human behavior for these animals. We want to talk about the Endangered Species Act today. And as most of you know, the Endangered Species Act is under threat from the current federal administration. They don't see the need for it. They think it gets in the way of progress, and it's gets in the way of economic viability in the United States, according to the administration. And what we want to talk about today is why it is important, and why it's important to defend the Endangered Species Act, and what has the act actually done for America's wildlife and plant life. Well, it's done a lot. I mean, one of the biggest symbols of the Endangered Species Act is the bald eagle and the peregrine falcon, the grizzly bear. These are symbolic, and they've shown wonderful recovery. We wouldn't have bald eagles in the lower 48 states if it wasn't for the Endangered Species Act, which created a framework to protect their habitat and also completely protect all eagles under the federal guidelines. The peregrine falcon, in the early 1970s, California had about 5 or 6 nesting pairs known in the entire state. Today, there are probably hundreds in California. We've documented 3 nesting pairs right here in Anza Borrego Desert State Park. The peregrine falcon, bald eagle have been pulled off the endangered list, and our own peninsular bighorn sheep. They're Nelson's bighorn sheep, but the subpopulation that's located here in the Peninsular Mountains has been designated since 1998 as a federally endangered population. Now, why did we petition to have these bighorn, which appear quite plentiful right here, listed as endangered? In 1994, we documented the population was down to only about 280 peninsular sheep. Today, that population is up back over 950 animals. And what really triggered us petitioning for listing of this population was the fact that in the Palm Springs, Palm Desert Rancho Mirage area, there were 21 housing developments and golf courses proposed inside of bighorn sheep habitat. So they already have 130 golf courses in the Coachella Valley. They wanted 21 more up the hill in bighorn habitat. And a lot of us got together and we thought, well, enough is enough. And we petitioned the federal government, and we were successful in having this subpopulation listed. And what did that do? it really put the brakes on those 21 golf course housing developments. Don't need any more golf courses up there. And it gave preservation to what we call critical habitat, that habitat that's necessary to recover the population or the species. And so anytime a federal permit was required, say for flood control or grading or interrupting the water flow, in a canyon bottom, the federal government, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, had a lot more authority to provide restrictions or mitigation to a project to provide for the future well-being of the population, whatever it might be. And so now our population of peninsular bighorn has almost quadrupled. We're hoping for it to come back to a natural population density. We think 1,000, 1,500 sheep in this mountain range would be more of a natural population than what it was when it plummeted to 280. And so we think that recovery is happening. Now, what's the goal of the Endangered Species Act? It simply is to stabilize habitat and population numbers, and also to provide for the recovery. The goal really is to get these animals recovered and take them back off the endangered list, not to just covey hold them away and lock them up for life on the endangered list. So our goal here, our strategy, our measurement of success will be that when we have 6 years, consecutive years, where these populations of bighorn sheep have sufficient numbers of females, we have 9 subgroups, and last year or year before, for the first time ever since listing, we've had 9 subgroups with 25 bighorn ewes in them. So that's one of our markers. We need 750 sheep overall. We need at least 25 females in each group. So when we do that 6 years in a row, we can take the peninsular bighorn off the endangered list and put it on the threatened category. And 6 more years of stable or recovering population, it could be petitioned to be taken off of the endangered species list altogether. That's our goal, is to effect recovery, not just to, keep developers away and economic interests away from infringing on the bighorn sheep, but to get the sheep population protected to the state that it can recover and function and be sustainable. Now here at Palm Canyon, not only are the bighorn sheep on the federal endangered species list, but right here in the pupfish pond, we have the desert pupfish, which is also listed as an endangered species. The desert pupfish is only found in a few natural locations, and the pupfish pond here was constructed in about 1970 as a refugia to provide an additional site for desert pupfish to thrive. The natural sites out at San Sebastian Marsh and San Felipe Wash in Imperial County, Quito Baquito Spring down in southern Arizona, and the fringes of the Salton Sea, they're all single point spots which are vulnerable. If something bad happens, the water dries up at San Sebastian, or the Salton Sea completely dies, then those populations might be extirpated. So we actually created some other refugia. There's one here at Palm Canyon. There's one in front of the Anza Borrego Visitor Center. There's another one out at Salton Sea State Recreation Area. These are stopgap refugia that allow these species to continue on. If something very catastrophic happens in their native spot, we still have relics of that population protected elsewhere. We have the least Bell's vireo, which migrates through Anza Borrego, and we have done a lot to recover least Bell's vireo populations in the park. In the mid-1980s, when we began monitoring them, we used to count about 24 nesting pairs. Today we're monitoring them, and we have over 100 nesting pairs throughout the park. We've purchased more habitat, like Centenac Canyon, Vallecito Ranch, and we've also done things like removal of tamarisk trees to enhance their habitat, the native willow riparian areas, and we've also been trapping non-native brown-headed cowbirds, which parasitize the vireo nests and take over their clutches, and so we have relieved pressure on them. So look around, watch the news. You'll see that the Endangered Species Act is under attack almost on a daily basis nationwide. The current administration in Washington sees no utility in maintaining a strong Endangered Species Act. They would love to make it endangered and weaken it to the point that businesses, oil and gas and mining, and other businesses that are takers of the environment could just have free reign and take over, and the heck with endangered plants and wildlife. Currently we have 105 endangered animal species in California, and about 182 species of plant life are listed in California as federally endangered. So that's Anza Borrego Explained. We hope that you enjoyed seeing some bighorn sheep video, and we hope you'll think about how important the Endangered Species Act is to all of us. Whether we get out here and see these plants and animals or not, to know that they exist and to know that they're preserved for future generations is one of our charges, and it's an important thing for all of us to get behind the Endangered Species Act and make sure it's not diluted. So thank you for watching Anza Borrego Explained today. And we'll have future spots on other subjects. Thank you.